What up? We're going totally capsular today with a little hip internal rotation class that's really going to just focus in on that capacity, that space that you have right at your hip joints. It's a little bit of a prop heavy class because some of these changes to your normal 90-90 hip internal rotation setup might be just the ticket to make this a very effective drill for you. So those props in order of need are going to be something round that we're going to use later. So a roller works well, especially the shorter rollers. If not a shorter roller, you could also get away with a ball. This will work very well, or the long roller. In a pinch, even a nice water bottle will work, one that won't compress when you squeeze it. In addition, you're going to want a yoga block. A pillow will not work that well, but a water bottle could work in a pinch there. And then later in the class, you'll use a little bit of a surface. So that could be a couch surface or a chair. And that might double as a nice support for you when you're in 90-90. So we're gonna pull in this poof, I guess it's called, to lean against. Yeah, a little later on. So something round, yoga block, and then a surface for later in class to kind of support on and support your feet on. And then lastly, just some floor space. Now, when you're selecting your floor space, if you can be near a wall, you'll get even a little bit of extra bonus support for your nervous system, and we'll talk about that. But if you're not able to get near a wall or find that space, no big deal. You'll be able to do this class just fine, okay? If you are near the wall, go ahead and lay down now on your back and get close enough to the wall where you can put your feet right flat on the wall. If the wall is not accessible to you, here's where you could start with your surface. So you just put your feet flat on a chair or a couch, something at seat height, and then check that your knees and your hips are about at 90-degree angles, okay? And then from there, you'll maybe want to grab your yoga block or your ball, whatever is nearest at hand, and throw that right between your thighs so we get a little squeeze there. Good. And just take a moment to sort of scan your body. Feel your spine melt into the floor. Check in on your neck. Good. And check in on the bottom of your feet. Now, one little note, if your neck is talking to you right now, maybe it feels like your head is falling back behind you, then probably you will want a pillow as well under your head just to support your head and neck so you can pause the class and just grab that if needed. If your neck feels okay here though, we'll just keep going from this back lying position. All right, so sensing back into those feet, feel that we've just super glued your feet to the wall and gently pull down on the wall or down into the surface that your feet are resting on and feel the backs of your thighs turn on. Then from there, squeeze the item between your thighs so your inner thighs turn on and really sense those muscle areas working. We always joke, you don't need to know the names, but you do need to feel the contraction. So take your time, sense into it, maybe even use your fingers to poke a little bit and go, oh yeah, muscles are working. And then turn those muscles up to like 50 or 60% of your maximum effort. Then using those muscles, curl your tailbone away from the ground to lift your knees straight up towards the ceiling. And keep going until you feel that your pelvis is fully off the ground or at least very light on the ground. And then place your hands on your belly and just see, do you have a jelly belly here? You should feel no ab action going on, just loose feeling in there so that all the lift of your pelvis is actually coming from your legs, okay? Then keeping this position, you can keep your hands there. Let's start to introduce the drill, the actual drill, which will involve breathing, okay? So take a preparatory inhale, and then blow all that air out through your mouth like you're blowing out birthday candles, and keep blowing air out until your body is empty of air and hold that empty feeling. Could you blow out one final birthday candle if you had to? Push that air out of your body. Good. Now keep that feeling in your abs and slowly start inhaling through your nose. So now your abs are very active. Again, exhale, blow that air out. Blow the birthday candles out, try to squeeze more air out of your torso, and notice the ab contraction going on in your waist. Keep that. Silent inhale through your nose. Not all the way full, just trying to breathe into your rib cage. And then again, another exhale. Pushing that air out, squeezing your rib cage closed, holding that empty feeling, and then silently inhale through your nose. only sending that air into your rib cage, into the floor, into the sides of your ribs. Last exhale, blow that air out. Push, push, push the air out completely, like there's that final ounce that's hiding in your lungs. Get it out. And now your last inhale, breathing in through your nose while your abs stay on. Good. And relax. Let your legs relax. You could grab your block real quick. So just want to clarify this because it can always be a little weird if this is your first time trying this kind of breathing. After our first exhale, some muscles should engage on the sides of your waist, your oblique muscles and some muscles in your abs. You then want to try to keep those muscles on for the rest of the drill. So your legs are working, now you add those waist muscles, and then the actual motion of air coming in and out of your body will only be moving in your rib cage. Now this is a bit different than belly breathing. So one cue I'll give you on this next set is as you inhale, don't let any of that air move your belly. So you're not gonna let any sort of belly breathing happen once we're in the drill, okay? All right, let's set up for another round. So block between the thighs, sense into your feet, pull down on the wall, squeeze that block, and then use your strong leg strength to curl your tailbone up away from the ground, knees to the ceiling, do a quick jelly belly check. You should feel no effort happening in your abs yet, all right? Now from here, take a preparatory inhale. That can be a belly breath, and then blow the air out, getting every ounce of air in your lungs out of your body and keep squeezing out. Good, now keep your abs on for the rest of the drill as we start to inhale silently through the nose, trying to send that air into the floor, into the back of your body. When you can't breathe in anymore without turning into a belly breath, again, exhale. Push that air out, squeezing even more, finding more ab contraction, and then a silent inhale. How much can you hold on to that ab wall as you breathe in? Another exhale. Push, push, push. Even more contraction. Hold on to that contraction as you inhale silently, slowly, carefully, not letting it go into your belly. Final exhale, blow that air out. Really find some real effort. Keep following through with that exhale, blow, 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 blow. And now silent inhale through your nose, trying to expand your ribs a little further. And relax. Excellent, okay? Lose the block. We're gonna do one final set here. This is a drill that as your body and nervous system start to figure it out, you should be able to feel like a little bit more connection with the cues that I'm giving. Also, what can help with that is to use your own fingers, your own tactile feedback. So on this last round, I will have you place your left hand, if it's comfortable for your shoulder, on your left ab wall. And that really is sort of that soft area between your pelvis bone and your rib cage. Anywhere in there is where your obliques live, and that's really the muscle that we're trying to engage with your exhale, and then keep through the drill, okay? So place that block between the thighs. Final time here, sense into your feet, and then gently pull down on the wall as you squeeze the block and lift your kneecaps toward the ceiling. Really make sure this time that your pelvis comes away from the floor. So you're really lifting your hips up. Check that your belly is soft at this point. And then keep that left hand parked on your waist. Your right hand could be on the side of your body or lifted overhead, whatever's comfortable for you. And then take a preparatory inhale. As you exhale and blow out those birthday candles, feel that left ab wall working. Push, 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 push. Good. Now keep that ab wall working as you silently inhale through your nose, trying to expand into the back of your body, not into your belly, and then another exhale. Good. Finding more ab contraction and connecting with that sensation, and then slow and silent inhale. Doing your best to stay calm, knowing that you won't take a full inhale. And then again, big exhale. Squeeze all that air out. Can you get those ribs to squeeze down more? Now keep that ab wall and breathe in. Calmly, carefully, slowly. Another exhale. Push the air out. Find that oblique. Breathe in. not losing that oblique. And now our last one, blow all the air out. Good, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Anything you've got left in that left ab wall, turn it on now. Hold it on, and now breathe in through your nose. Trying to fill up your ribs with air, but not your belly, and relax. Very nice work, okay? Hannah's getting a little shake going on here, which is actually exactly the level of intensity you want to be working at. If this felt easy for you, we're going to turn it up a little bit in future watchings of this class, okay? From here, let's go ahead and stay on the ground, but just scooch a little bit away from the wall and come onto a side lying position, throwing that block under your head for a pillow, if that's comfy. And then straighten out your bottom leg so that it's like you're standing on that leg, but the foot is connected to the wall. Again, if you're not near a wall, that doesn't work for you, no big deal. You could just be in a side lying with a bottom leg that's straight. And then from here, reach your top arm out in front of you and maybe join with your bottom arm, okay? So you're able to create a little pressure under one or both hands such that if I was there with you and I tried to lift up your arms, you would be pushing down, but you'd be almost like leaning with your body weight into those hands, okay? So there's a very committed hip car. And then use that commitment to stay still everywhere except for the top leg. Let's go knee to chest. Send the whole leg away to the ceiling while you stay committed to your hand pressure, and then start to reach that heel behind you as far as you can before you start to lower the shin. Touch knee to knee or as close as you can get and freeze there, okay? Let's reverse course back, sending the leg behind you, shin to the ceiling. Start to bring that knee up towards your armpit. Staying committed through the arms, really lots of output for your body. Cut that knee across your midline like you're trying to touch it to the floor. Maybe you will. And then pause there and just relax here for a moment, okay? So one full hip car. Now I want to park that leg in one angle and just explore rotation. So the first way we'll do that, right now with your foot on the ground, turn on your brace, turn on that upper body tension. And then keep your foot on the ground, but lift your knee as high away from the ground as you can. So foot stays on the floor. That's okay. Good. Now from here, explore how much can you drag the floor up towards your face with that foot that's on the ground. Good. Okay. Now this is your angle for working rotation. Keep your thigh bone still, keep your body on tension, and twist the thigh to lift your heel up as high as you can, and then back down to the floor. Good. 20 seconds here. Very committed upper body tension strategy, and just exploring how much can you twist your thigh bone in the hip socket one way, and then how much can you twist that thigh bone in the socket the other way. Doing great here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Relax that leg down. Relax your body for a moment. We're going to do that capsule car rotation on that same leg, just in another position before we switch sides, okay? So for this one, you can just move your top leg behind you so your thighs line up, or maybe your knees are touching, okay? And then let your top knee lift as you reach your heel even further behind you. So we max out extension. Yeah, so just from here now, reach that leg as far behind you as you can, okay? Watch out for your tailbone trying to lift up behind you. So we keep the spine still. And then from this angle as well, let's start our thigh twisting in hip socket. So heel drops to the ground, and then heel reaches to the ceiling, while the angle of your thigh bone stays exactly the same and just twists. Good. Now, if this feels like a brand new position for your body, you're like, I don't know if I'm quite doing it right. Well, then good news. This is now a little bit more clear for your body. This position is now a little bit more part of your set of options. On the other hand, if you're familiar with this, then you can really drive some intensity here for these last few seconds. Try to seek out more rotation. And relax. Great job. Okay, let's do that little hip series on the other side. So just turn over such that your bottom leg can still be on the wall. And you can stand on that leg almost. Feel like you're pushing the wall away actively. Okay, and then both hands reach out in front of you. Hannah's she's very social, I promise. She's just being a little antisocial to the camera. Okay, and then really commit those hands to the ground. Take an extra second to feel not just pressure from your arms, but like your whole body is making pressure with your hands. And then from here, top leg starts to move, knee to chest, shin to the ceiling. Rotate that thigh to reach your heel back as you keep your leg lifted. And then reaching and exploring as far behind you as you can into hip extension before your knees come together. Pause there and reverse course. Heel reaches back, shin to the ceiling. Keep that lift as you start to bring your knee up towards your armpit. Still committed through the upper body, not letting those hands get light at all. Cut that knee across your body and relax it. Good. Just like before here, take a moment to breathe and relax and just explore how much can you lift your knee away from the ground while the foot stays on the floor. Okay? And then keep that knee lifting as you start to slide your foot up towards your arms as much as you can. When you feel like the foot's about to come off the floor, that's your spot. Turn your body tension up and rotate that thigh bone. Twisting to lift your heel up and twisting to lower that heel down. Awesome. Okay? This position, you can use your eyes. You can look at that thigh and make sure that the angle of the thigh is not moving. It's just twisting here for the last 8 seconds. Wringing out as much of that twist in each direction as you can. And relax. Good. Spicy. Finally, let's bring those thighs parallel to each other so the top heel reaches behind. Take a moment to turn on your brace, commit to those hands, and then really commit to reaching your heel behind you as far as you can without your pelvis moving. And know that this might mean that your leg lifts away from your bottom leg a little bit, and that's okay. And then when you're at end range extension, start twisting that thigh bone again. Heel towards the floor. This is external rotation. Heel towards the ceiling. That's internal rotation of the hip. Keep going back and forth and find that same complete stop you see that Hannah's showing at her end range. So it's not a matter of just twist, 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 twist. It's actually how much time can you spend working at those end ranges of rotation. So the stops are actually the most important part. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome sauce. Okay, now come up to quadruped, hands and knees position. Okay, we're going to be moving the spine, so if you wanted to support your forearms on that surface you were using or whatnot, that would be a great choice. But then from here, go ahead and sense into your hands, sense into your feet, and sense into your center of mass. Are you centered over your hands? We don't want that. Are you centered over your feet? We don't want that. We want to be right somewhere in the middle. So take a second to locate that middle stance. Pressurize your hands and your feet into the ground, and then also pressurize your midsection. So you create a little upper body tension. And then from here, let's start to curl your tailbone under to start up that cow spinal segmentation. Feeling the tailbone scoop, and then stretching the lower back, stretching the upper back, stretching between the shoulder blades, and stretching the back of your neck here. Good. Take a moment when you're all the way rounded into flexion to blow that air out, just like we were working before. Find your obliques, and then keep them on. Keep breathing as best you can. Reach your tailbone the other way, moving only one segment at a time, or as best as you can muster. Very nice. Reaching one segment at a time towards the floor now to move your spine into extension. Great. Awesome. And when you're all the way extended, you're reaching your chin to the ceiling and stretching the whole front line of your body. Blow that air out again and see if you can find your obliques. Good. Now keep it. Keep your shirt logo reaching up to the ceiling and your chin reaching up to the ceiling, and only move your tailbone, curling the tailbone under. When you feel like you would have to move your belly button, freeze and move that tailbone back to the ceiling. Back and forth here. sensing into the specific motion and sensation of those lower back and even hip tissues that are moving right now. Just another 10 seconds, exploring that motion of the lowest part of your spine. And relax, let that go, okay? Now that exact motion is gonna come into play here as we set up into a hip stretching position. So do your best to remember, what did it feel like to lift that tailbone or to curl that tailbone under? You're gonna need to sense into that later because it's an area we can't see when we're in 90-90, okay? So now let's get into our hip stretching 90-90 position. Again, if you're near the wall, you wanna set up in a way where you're basically your bottom or your back leg, foot is planted against the wall, okay? So probably that will mean you're facing away from the wall, your front knee is pointing away from the wall, and your back thigh is parallel to the wall to start, okay? If, again, you're not near a wall, then you're just in your normal 90-90, trying to find those 90-degree angles. Okay, now keep your back foot on the wall, and scoot your butt forward from the wall just a little bit. So now we have a little more hip extension to work with. And let's bend this front knee so that it's not part of the story right now, okay? It's just sort of hanging out. All right, make sure your yoga block is close at hand because we will use that in just a moment. And we're gonna go after a stretch for your hip capsule of this back leg, this trailing leg. Hannah's right side, okay? From here, hand on pelvis, turn your pelvis towards that back kneecap or maybe even towards your back foot. But I don't want you to go all the way to the end range. I want you to go generally towards that direction and definitely go back and forth a few times to feel where the stop sign is and where it would feel like you'd have to really crank to go further. We don't want to crank. Okay? On your next turn, go ahead and settle into an amount of turning that feels safe, but gets you near that end range stop sign. And then from here, grab your yoga block, long-wise, and push it against your calf. Okay? So this should give you a little bit of traction. Make sure that you don't actually move your foot or your calf, but you just create some tension. And then here's the big moment. Keep that tension and start to lift your tailbone up behind you in a very micro, very small adjustment. But the goal is that you are able to open up a little bit of a stretch sensation in the very back of your hip, the very back of maybe your groin area. The landmark that might make sense for you is sort of those sits bones when you're sitting upright in a chair, the part of your pelvis that's on the chair. That's basically the area we're trying to stretch, very deep in the hip joint. So take this time as I'm chattering away to just be hunting for that exact area, right on the back of the pelvis, okay? Right there. Good. Okay? And this really has nothing to do with how flexible or mobile you are. It has to do with locating the stretch in a certain place. So really take your time. If you're already there, then you're just breathing and trying to get comfortable into that stretch. Okay? Now, let's start to isometrically train from this position. Your goal is to not move out of this stretch the whole time. Very gently at first, start to push your back ankle down into the ground. Very gently so that you can locate that work right where you were just stretching. Good. Now add to that feeling of ankle pressure. So it's as if you're slowly making that ankle heavier and heavier because you're trying to rotate your thigh bone on that working side. Okay? As you build that up more and more, you might find that that back knee is trying to sneak off the floor. I want you to actively pin it down to the floor. So now the ankle is heavy and the knee is heavy, and you might feel quite a bit of activity in that sits bone area. Go ahead and ramp that activity up to 75% effort, smoothly building to that level of intensity, and then parking it there for 10 more seconds. Imagining that if the floor wasn't there, your back foot would just be rotating right through the ground, right through that surface. 3, 2, keep your position, but relax and melt that contraction. Good. Okay, now once you're here, just a note that you might want to be supporting your body a little bit. I didn't even remember. So if you need to readjust to get a little more comfortable, we're just going to do one more set here. This time we're going to add in a rails contraction after we do that pales contraction. Okay? So to prep this time, just do a little pelvic tilt. Reach those tail feathers up behind you and then curl them under. And notice that you have control over where your stretch sensation is based on the tilt of your pelvis. Lift those tail feathers one final time to really pull that sits bone area open. And then from here, let's start our pales contraction. Back ankle getting heavier into the ground. Light at first and then steadily growing in intensity. When you feel your back knee is trying to get off the floor, ask it to get heavy as well into the ground. And then start to build the intensity through your whole body. So again, it's that commitment idea of I'm going to commit to making my back, knee, shin, and ankle as pressed into the ground as possible because I'm trying to twist my back thigh through the floor. Build this up to your greatest safe effort for 5, 4, 3, 2, keep your position and keep your effort. And now start asking your back ankle to get light on the ground. Back knee is still heavy, but now the back ankle is trying to get light. Can you find that contraction and use that contraction to try to pull yourself deeper into this end range? 5, 4, 3, flirting with the cramp is a good thing, and slowly melt away that effort. Awesome, okay? Now we're going to do one last little piece, a little different from this, but if you need to wiggle, you'll just turn your pelvis forward, kind of find that little bit of motion in the hip joint, maybe tailbone motion, okay? Just get comfy again, okay? Relatively comfy. And then check, how much can you turn your pelvis toward that back leg, okay? And now we're going to actually work not quite at end range. So turn that pelvis back about 10 degrees. It can be about, totally approximate. And you can lose that yoga block now. Yeah, okay? From here, pin that back knee down to the ground so it's not going to lift up. And then start asking that back ankle to get lighter and lighter, just like the rails we were just doing. And then actually commit to trying to lift it away from the ground, okay? Even if it doesn't move away from the ground, I want you to really go, maybe it could today. Let me see if it could. And really try to find that extra little bit of contraction in your hip. And then slowly relax that ankle down. Okay. Now, if your foot got off the ground, you're at the right position. If it didn't quite get off the ground, then I want you to turn your pelvis more towards that front leg. Yep. So we're a little further from end range. And then brace. Back knee is heavy into the ground, and then back ankle lifts up. Yes, getting a little bit of daylight. Once you have that daylight, lower the ankle with control to tap the ground, and then right back up. How much daylight can you create underneath your ankle? Right down slow, right back up strong. Each rep trying to wring out more rotation in this back thigh, finding more contraction, and finding more control as you lower that ankle. Never relaxing it, just controlling it. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Bueno. Okay, let's go ahead and get this whole dealio on the other leg. So find your 90-90 setup with your back foot planted against the wall and your little support setup next to you so you can rest on it. Good.
I was like, where am I? What's happening? Okay.
Good. So as you get set up on this other leg, make sure your back foot is planted on the wall if you're using that. Make sure that your front knee is bent so it's out of the equation. And then make sure you have a yoga block on hand so you have that nearby, okay? Scoot your butt away from that wall or forward of your back foot a little bit. And then from here, turn your pelvis, so you're turning your belt buckle towards that back leg. Yeah, totally fine to be pretty leaned over here, Okay? Do it a couple times to just give your hip and your body a chance to notice, oh, how much is freely available in terms of hip rotation. Okay? Then when you think you've found it, park it there. Make sure you're not really pushing yourself into it, but you're just finding that easy end range. Grab your block in the long wise orientation and then pin it against your back calf. Okay? Once it's pinned, now's the magic moment. Lift that tailbone behind you. Another way to say that would be to extend your lower back, with the goal being to find a stretch in the back part of your hip, in that sits bone area of your hip joint. And this definitely takes some hunting. So that means at first, like, give yourself that grace of trying things. Try a different position, try a micro adjustment, and be on the lookout for that sits bone area. It also might mean that as you come back to this class after class, you might need to subtly adjust each time because your body is changing, and that's normal. We want to embrace that, okay? So settle into your best stretch position, and by best I mean most specific to that sits bone area. Brace your upper body so nothing's going to move, and then light pressure with that back ankle down into the ground. Just enough to turn on that stretching area. Once it's on, start to grow in intensity. That area's contraction. When you feel your back knee trying to get off the floor, ask it instead to pin down to the floor. And then build the effort of both asks. So the ankle and the knee starting to get heavier and heavier, more leg tissue getting pulled in, more upper body tissue getting pulled in, until you're at about 75% of your ability, your maximum effort, and grow it a little bit more. So not all out, but just a little bit more. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and slowly melt that away, keeping your body's shape. Okay? If you need to do a little wiggle because it feels safer to do that, that's fine. But then relocate that stretch, turning to face that back leg, lifting your tail feathers behind you, and keeping that pressure on the back calf. Okay? Now from here, we're going to start ramping up that pails again. Back ankle getting a little bit heavier into the ground. As you feel that begin to create a twist or a torque on the back leg, start to add the back knee pressure into the ground, and then steadily build both points of pressure up. So you're starting to build that intensity in the leg. It's spilling over into your midsection and even into your arms, and you're trying to convince your body to spend a lot of effort in that exact area of your sits bone, building up to your greatest safe effort here. For 5, 4, 3, ankle is heavy, keep your body position, and now switch to a light feeling ankle. Don't let your body move, don't let your pelvis come out of rotation, but just think about that ankle getting light, and you should notice contraction on the outside of your hip, literally the opposite side of your hip from that sits bone area. Okay? Locate that rails contraction, build it up as much as possible, all the way to 100% is great. Flirting with a cramp maybe, not letting that cramp take all the way over for 3, 2, 1, and melt it down. Good. As you melt it away, again, let your hip joint move a little bit gently by turning your pelvis back forward. Maybe by tilting your belt buckle up and down, so you're doing that little pelvic tilt. Just inviting some blood flow and some motion into that hip, okay? And then let's find our position we're gonna do some lift-offs from. So start by turning your pelvis back, then turn it forward just a skosh, and see if you can keep your back knee heavy, but start to make your ankle lighter and lighter, noticing is it actually able to come away from the ground as we hold it here. Spend some moments here really trying, because you might surprise yourself, oh, I can maybe get some daylight, and then relax. Okay, so assess. If you're able to get about 1 inch of daylight, then you're good. You can stay here. If you need If you weren't, then you need to turn your pelvis forward a little bit. If on the other hand, you're lifting up and you're like, 6 inches off the ground, you would need to turn more towards that back ankle so you're only getting 1 inch of lift, okay? So find your angle, brace your body, really convincing your body this is a high intensity demanding exercise, and then use all that intensity to make your back ankle lighter, light enough in fact to float away from the ground about 1 inch, and then lower with control and right back up. So even when you're lowering, you're not coming off tension. You're just controlling your legs fall back to the ground before lifting it right back up. Very nice, good. All out effort for the next 10 seconds. Really trying to control and own that full range of motion that you just stretched into in this hip. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Very nice job. Hey, that was great, okay? Now, let's kind of integrate this into your body. So come onto your side lying position again. I'll take that. Hi-ya! Okay, throwing that yoga block underneath your head. Finding that same position we had for a hip car before where the bottom leg is straight and planted on the wall or just straight on the ground. Both hands out in front of you to create that brace that you're going to lean into. And then we're just going to do 1 hip car with a few capsule cars, just like before. So knee to chest. Good. Send the shin to the ceiling. Rotate to reach that heel behind. And by the way, it doesn't matter which hip you're doing right now because we're going to do the same thing on the other side. As your knees come together, pause and reverse. Reach your heel behind you. Shin to the ceiling. Start to rotate to bring that knee forward. Across your midline. Good. Now start up another car, knee to chest. But this time, when you lift your shin up to the ceiling, hold it there, okay? So we're just gonna freeze here and start twisting your thigh like we did at the beginning of class. Heel goes up to internally rotate the thigh. Heel comes down to externally rotate the thigh, or the hip. Back and forth here, 15 seconds. Giving your brain a chance to map onto anything new that might be available after that isometric training. 3, 2, 1, and relax your body. Great. Turn over to the other side. Let's save and upload that work for the other leg, that other hip. Okay, find your stance with the bottom leg straight, maybe anchoring into the wall, and then commit those 2 hands out in front of you heavily into the floor. Okay, so you really are not going to let them lift up as we go knee to chest. Keep your body braced as you lift your shin to the ceiling. Feel your thigh rotate as you reach your heel behind you. Good. And then as you reach it back further, maybe touching your knees together. And then reverse course. Drive that leg back. Lift your shin up. Keep that height as you start to bring the knee forward. As close to your chest as you can, and then cutting across to the floor. Great. Okay, and now we go for capsule cars. Knee to chest. Shin to the ceiling. Hold it when you feel like your heel would start to reach back, and start that capsule rotation. Twisting the thigh bone one way and the other way, looking for that complete stop at the end of your rotation. Yes. Hannah is full on strength training right now. Good. Those end ranges will always be a challenge, so really hunt for them for 3, 2, 1, and relax it. Okay, now finally, we're gonna integrate that maybe different hip situation in one more way, coming back to a back lying position. And just like before, you're gonna want to set your feet up on a surface if you were using that. And in fact, if you're working near the wall, you'd also want to locate that surface, because now it's going to be very important that you can push your heels down into something. So for today, we're going to put a block that's about at a seat height, so that Hannah can create that pressure downward, okay? And you might need to hunt that out or get that set up. You'll also want now your round object. So either a roller, which will fit in between your thighs like about that. You can see the long roller is a little bit precarious. It might drop on the face, so short roller is ideal. Or what we're gonna use here today is a ball, okay? A volleyball or something similar like that, okay? So once you get your setup, your feet are supported on a surface, no need to be near the wall. Your back is flat and your hips and your knees are at about 90-degree angles, okay? We're gonna set up in a very similar position as we had before by pressuring those heels downward, squeezing the ball or the block between the thigh, and then curling the tailbone away from the ground for that hip lift, okay? And then we're gonna actually want to include the abs this time. So take a breath in and then brace your abs like a puppy is about to jump on your stomach and you wanna protect your guts, okay? This is gonna be very helpful for you as we start now to do the motion, which is gonna be a slicing of your left knee downward towards the floor as your right knee reaches up. Keep going until you find a complete stop and just park it there, feel active and muscular there. And then switch directions. Left knee reaches towards the ceiling, right knee pulls down towards the ground. You might be able to go further or you might not be able to go as far. Keep going back and forth, noticing that your thighs are staying parallel to each other, but just one side's going up, one side's going down. Good, 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Bueno. Okay, we're gonna do that one last and final time so that you can bring some awareness into a little bit more specific area now that you know the drill. The two areas to tune into is, first of all, that sits bone area that we were just stretching with our hip internal rotation work. So that area is going to be asked to move a little bit when you do this drill. You might be able to feel that, you might not, but I'm gonna invite you to sense into that spot once we set up. The other area that might be a little more clear to feel are inner thigh contractions, especially on the bottom side. So I'll just show for a second here. You can watch. Hannah will lift and get ready and then pull the left knee down. In this position, the left inner thigh is being asked to get very shortened. That tissue is being asked to get very shortened. So it might feel like a cramp. As the right side comes down, then that cramp might locate on the right inner thigh, or right groin area, okay? So go ahead and join us now. Set up with your feet supported, that round object between the thighs, and then active heels, active squeeze of that block between the thighs to lift your tailbone up. And then a nice big breath in to brace your midsection. And then here we go, 30 seconds of work, drawing one kneecap towards the ground and then the other kneecap. And see if you can ask for a little more squeeze of that object between your thighs, maybe hunting out that inner thigh contraction that we were talking about. Good. Now as you keep going, can you sense into your sits bone area and feel any motion or even stretching as that side becomes the bottom side? So as you lower your left knee, can you find a stretch in your sits bone area on the left side? As your right knee descends, can you find a stretch in the right sit bone area? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Melt that down. Give yourself a little pat on the back because that was some serious internally focused work. Nice job. And let us know any questions because we introduced a few kind of new wrinkles to some familiar training positions today. So we'd love to hear how they went. Have a good one.